Hello, and thank you for clicking on the link to listen to this audio video overview of the position details for the financial controller position at Shalako Management. So let me really quick introduce who I am and why we're doing it this way so that you have some context. My name is Mark Galvan. I'm a partner with Proforce. We're a third-party recruiting firm. We recruit for lots of different companies, and we are partnered with Shalako Management to assist with this executive search. So it's my privilege to be able to do this because I'm familiar with the business, the people, the leadership, and the owner team at Shalako. And so I can provide you some additional information beyond what's on the internet and also what's in the position profile. So this is only for people that have already been pre-evaluated and screened by our recruiting team. So we either found you based on your online resume or your LinkedIn profile or something, or we solicited some information and we got your resume somehow, or you responded to one of our job postings, but you've already been pre-evaluated based on your background and experience as a senior financial professional. So you're kind of already in the middle stages of this process because we wouldn't be sending you this information if we didn't have an interest in you. So that's who this is for, and you're already moving along the process. So congratulations. From here, what happens is if you like the information that's presented here, then we're going to then evaluate information you send back to us. Included with the email that has the link to this audio video overview is a link to a brief questionnaire where we're asking for some additional information to complement your resume. That actually just helps us prioritize how we're going to follow up with you. So what I want to do right now is I want to be able to give you some additional details, as I said, that'll help you make a decision. Our approach is we would rather empower you to make a decision on whether or not this is the right opportunity. A lot of times what happens is you end up, if you're a candidate for a job or you're being solicited, somebody reaches out to you and they schedule an appointment, and a recruiting organization is going to do a pre-screen phone call, and you feel like you're interrogated, and it's not very respectful in my opinion, but ultimately they're trying to disqualify you. They're trying to screen people out. What we want to do is we want to give you a lot of information up front, and if this is in line with what you're looking for professionally and career-wise, then you can take some extra time to give us some feedback via the questionnaire. There's no rush. We're rushed. We're trying to move this process along fairly quickly. However, you can listen to this multiple times and you can take your time to give us answers on the questionnaire that are much more meaningful rather than feeling like you're on the spot in a phone screen that feels like an interrogation. So that's a little bit of, why we're doing this. There's no artificial intelligence. We're all real people, but we call this our accelerated recruiting model because we're able to get a lot of information into your hands and then get back some information from you rather quickly compared to having to schedule a phone call and then somehow it has to be rescheduled for whatever reason, and then it spills into next week and all that stuff. So let me dive into the details. The company Shalako Management, you're not going to find a lot of presence online because it's a private, closely held holding company. Their brands that they own and operate do have websites and do have information. This is a semi-confidential search. When you move ahead in the process, you'll be provisioned that additional information. However, what I can tell you is the organization is growing and it has a variety of different assets from a corporate governance perspective. The organization currently operates in California, Colorado, Florida, and Texas, and more states to come for sure. But the holding portfolio includes hospitality, hotels, warehousing operations and facilities, manufacturing, and real estate. So if you've got experience in one of those or more of those vertical industries, then that is a bingo for us. You're the kind of person we're looking for. Also of particular note is the fact that we're talking about a multiple federal ID environment with multi-state presence because multi-state payroll and taxes are an order of complexity compared to an organization that operates only in one state. And then also, because we're talking about working for the holding company, you have a span of control over the folks that are providing AP, AR, GL support for those different entities as well. So we're looking for somebody that has that type of experience with multi-client holding company operating structure, multi-state, and has supervisory experience. So we've gone back and forth between whether or not to call this a vice president or a director level position. Honestly, I think what we're doing is we're creating a career path for somebody to come in and get their arms around the thing and then be able to move up within the organization. There's a keen interest in bringing somebody in that has upside capability for a couple reasons. As your span of control increases and you master the technical platform, the NetSuite infrastructure that exists for all of the accounting, there's also a growth opportunity as the company continues to expand. We don't want to have to hire in a more senior person to take over operational authority and control as the company continues to grow. We want this role and the person that's selected for this position to grow with the position. So you are, in this capacity, the senior-most point of authority when it comes to the accounting functions. So as you can imagine, financial planning, accounting, forecasting, everything. You can look at the details in the downloadable position profile, but for the most part, it's all of the operational accounting functions and some forward-looking functions, but you are working with a third-party tax advisor, third-party CPA, and so on for some of those functions, including things like quarterly tax. So another thing that I think would be beneficial for you to know is that the company's benefit package continues to expand. Right now, there's some things that are unique to somebody in this role, and that there are performance incentives and project-based equity opportunities that don't exist for necessarily everybody in the organization, but because this is considered an executive leadership role and part of the leadership team, there's compensation and performance-based financial incentives for you beyond just the standard base compensation. So very, very important to note, because as you look at the base comp model, that's just your starting point. There is tremendous upside when you consider the other components of the variable pay. And again, that's something that as you move through the process, you'll be able to ask more questions about. But we're looking for somebody that looks at the opportunity and they want to embrace the challenge and they want to continue to grow. If somebody's already achieved a pinnacle of their career and they're kind of in the twilight zone and they're cruising to retirement, that's great because they're bringing professional capabilities, but we're looking for a long-term play, somebody that wants to be with the organization for an extended period until the exit strategy is invoked, whenever that happens in the future. But it's somebody that also has the hunger and the drive to be able to have the energy. So, regardless of what stage you're in your career, if you have those characteristics, that's what we're looking for. So take that away as an action item, that if you are really looking for a growth opportunity, add that to your comments when you give us back your information on the questionnaire that needs to be completed. Of course, there's other health and wealth benefits. A standard 401k and all the insurances, nothing particularly extraordinary there. But there are some intangible benefits that are worth noting. You'll notice on the downloadable position profile, things like a strong corporate culture, very healthy leadership team, a servant leadership internal management model is also something that a lot of people will definitely appreciate, especially if you're coming from a corporate environment like I came from years ago, where you're basically just a number. Another thing is, and I should be upfront about this, that Shalako Management is a faith-based organization. Now, I didn't say nonprofit, I said faith-based. And what that means is it's a Christian-owned and operated company, and it's not just in practice. They're not just Christian in name only. They have a commitment to to operating the business based on Christian values and beliefs. So that means there's some ethical and integrity standards for how people are dealt with, both internally as employees, vendors, contractors, approaches to accounting, everything. So, for the right person, that's probably a breath of fresh air. But just understand that is a standard of, as I said, ethics and integrity that's based on a pretty high bar. So keep that in mind as you consider this opportunity. There's some other information that you can look at in the downloadable position profile, such as some of the reasons why people love working here. But just briefly, as I try to wrap up here, the key responsibilities do include a pretty broad span of control, as I mentioned before. The accounting and finance function is split up between the day-to-day operations, monthly, quarterly activities that are essential, managing and supervising folks that are involved in AP, AR, GL, payroll, cash flow, treasury management, and so on. Because we're a NetSuite environment, it's really important that if you've got that background and experience, you let us know in some level of detail, because that is critical. We don't have the capacity to bring somebody in, and if they've got background on Oracle or some other platform, to then train them on a different ERP system. We're looking for somebody that already has that experience, can get in, knows how to drive the car, and can do customized reporting and other things. So that's very, very important. With regard to financial operations, of course, there's audit functions and financial reporting and other things as well. You can look at the details, but those are all within your span of control, being the senior most point of authority for all things accounting. Audit and compliance and risk advisory is a whole separate category in the position profile. There's a group of duties and responsibilities that are listed there that you might want to take a look at. If you've had any type of experience in the past where you've worked for an organization that has compliance expectations, either because of your industry or because of federal contracts or state or municipal contracts or something else, that if there's a problem, you want to find it before the outside agency partners find it, because if they find it, it's a lot more expensive. So having an internal audit function, an appreciation, background, and experience would also be very, very helpful. If you have that and maybe it's not on your resume, let us know in the response we get from you. Now, we are looking for somebody that has a degree, preferably in finance, accounting, or similar. An MBA or a CPA is preferred. However, you may have a bachelor's with significant experience. That's great. We want to see that. So don't feel like you're not eligible or highly qualified if you've got kind of a different composite of skills and capabilities. I can tell you right now, being a partner with the recruiting organization and having decades of experience in the recruiting space, that no candidate is absolutely perfect. You look at the job description, you're never going to find anybody that's totally perfect. You're going to have some gaps someplace. Just be transparent with what those are, if applicable, and we can help deal with that in the process. Okay, well, I think I've covered the information that I wanted to cover, so that you have kind of some backstory to all of this. I can tell you in conclusion, this is a new position. It's not a backfill. It's considered an expansion role as the company continues to grow. There's been internal executive leadership team members that have been responsible for all of this work. It's now time to carve that out and give it to somebody like yourself as we continue to move forward. And then from here forward, I would also expect that as the accounting function and the demands grow on the team, there'll be opportunities to add to your supervisory span of control as well. So if you've got hiring and firing and supervisory and performance management experience in your background, then that makes you more valuable even so. So next steps. If all this sounds interesting to you, and I hope it does, then take a few minutes and click on the link for the the questionnaire. Again, we're looking for specific pieces of information to supplement your resume. Sometimes when we go through a resume, we get what we're looking for, and sometimes we don't. So this has just been a best practice for us that we get some additional information. It gives some depth to the resume, and we're then able to take that information and move it into a review process where we're going to a hiring manager and getting feedback. So our promise and our commitment to you is that if you're walking through this process and investing your time for consideration, we're going to honor that by giving you feedback and then some links to some resources that can help you with your job search. If you're not selected for some reason, we will absolutely follow up with you and provide you some guidance on resume best practices, interviewing best practices, and things that we use as a recruiting organization to be successful all the time in the industry. So we kind of know how to do this. And so we can share some of those tricks of the trade with you that'll help you on your journey. It's the least thing we could do for you. And in the meantime, really look forward to hearing from you in the process. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this, and we look forward to getting your feedback.